morning, Professor. Good morning, students, classmates. And today, I'm going to be presenting about Western Europe, its geography, politics, economy, and culture. Like, of course, it's impossible to include all of the information about Western Europe within 10 minutes presentation, but I will do my best to include like the most important ones about the Western Europe. So let's get started from the map, with the map. So this is the map of the Western Europe, and like the thing is, it is not always exactly defined because, for example, most commonly it includes countries like France, Germany, the United Kingdom, and their neighbors. Sometimes Southern Europe is also grouped like differently, but for this presentation, I will focus on the main Western Europe states. So the geography, like geographic features of the Western Europe, is really diverse. The Alps and the Pyrenees from natural borders, while like the rivers like the Rhine and Danube were key for the trade. Its location gives access to the Atlantic and the Mediterranean. As you can see here, this side is the Atlantic and then the Mediterranean, and then the mountains here. Like this geography gives Western Europe a really great opportunity for the trade and then the import oriented economy of the region. The historical background is also really significant, especially the Roman Empire, agency, laws, the cities, architecture is really important, and then the significance for the Western European look. And the Renaissance and Enlightenment began here, inspiring science and democracy. And later, European empires dominated the world, and the devastation of the world wars reshaped the region. So as you can see, a lot of important things happened in the Western Europe, like Renaissance, the world wars, and like most of the like civilizations, like Roman civilization, other things happened in the Western Europe. Political systems of today's Western European countries, they are really stable democratic governments, and then the countries are a mix of republics like France, Germany, and there are also monarchies like the United Kingdom, Spain, Netherlands, and these the countries are have strong traditions of the rule of law and then the human rights, and for example, today, I feel like we learn the human rights or this kind of things like in our major. Most of them are kind of Western centric, kind of. So like these kind of terms came from these countries, and Western Europe is a model of modern democracy, we can say. And the European Union, we cannot skip this part because it is also one of the most important part of the Western countries. Like European Union is central to the Western Europe's politics and economy. It began as a coal and steel community after World War II and became a major political and economic union. Many Western European states are founding members of the European Union, and it is also really good kind of it was game changer, and it is also still has a significance in the modern world politics and economy. And NATO and the security, of course, this is also important. NATO is not directly about the Western Europe, but it was formed between the Western Europe and then the North Atlantic. So the North Atlantic Treaty Organization was formed in 1949 for collective defense against the Soviet Union. Western Europe is a great part of NATO, and the alliance continues to be important today. So even though today the America is trying to be like an out, or like the Donald Trump's administration is not going to get involved with NATO, especially about the funding, the budget. Still, the Western European countries like France, Germany, they are also just managing themselves within the NATO framework. The economy of the Western Europe is also really great. For example, the Western Europe is one of the world's wealthiest regions. Germany, France, and the UK are economic powerhouses with industries like cars, finances, technology, cities like London, Paris, Frankfurt, and global trade hubs. Like we can see here, like Paris, city, and then London, really great powerhouses for the world economy and the finance. And the Eurozone is like a big economic achievement of the Eurozone is the currency euro. It is used by 20 EU countries, many in Western Europe, and helps strengthen economic integration. Not all countries use it though, like for example the UK kept the British pound, but still most of the Western European countries of the European Union use the euro, and it is also one of the important part of the Europe, and especially Western Europe. And of course the culture and languages. Culturally, Western Europe is very diverse. Languages include Romance, like the ones like French and Spanish, and the Germanic languages like German and English. The region gave the world's famous art, music, and philosophy, shaping global culture. As you can see, the Beethoven, or like all of the Renaissance, the Enlightenment thinkers, all of them just were from the Western Europe. So Western Europe has also great significance in the modern, in the art and music and this kind of things. And let's talk about the modern society. Modern society today, the Western Europe has a high standard of living, like strong welfare, states provide healthcare and education. At the same time, immigration has made societies more multicultural, which brings both opportunities and challenges. I'm gonna talk about the immigration as another part as a challenge in the next slide. But immigration plays both good opportunity for Europe as to be a multicultural society, but at the same time it can challenge the European values, and it is not what most of the Europeans like. And the challenges and the future of the Western Europe. The Western Europe has also faces challenges, like I mentioned before. The immigration and integration continues to test societies. For example, and also the climate change and the energy crisis are urgent issues. Brexit, for example, the Brexit, which is British exit from the EU, showed divisions inside Europe, and the Western Europe's role in global politics is still evolving, especially right now, when the trade war is going on in the global trade. The EU is becoming especially the Western Europes are facing challenges in terms of the trade. So, to conclude, Western Europe is a region with a powerful past and a central role today. Its geography, politics, economy, and culture make it highly influential worldwide. However, it must adapt to new challenges to keep its global leadership. And thank you for your attention.
So Western Europe is like, it's not only just place, it's a house of ideas, and the countries inside the Western Europe, it has many roots, and it it gifted us many things which we share today, and which we will share in the future too. And their influence and their roots, they gave us things, for example, like language, government, and culture, which like almost every country in the world they use. So the examples would be in the next slide. So So for foundation, I can say that the Roman Empire was the foundation of a house that we are living right now. So they left behind the blueprints for the modern world, including their laws, the Latin language, which grew into the languages like Spanish, French, and Italian, and their incredible engineering like roads that connects every country to every other countries. And for example, like the German Autobahn is still available to this day, and this was created a long time ago, and their engineering is top notch. Everyone knows about that, and that is like a piece of art. During the Middle Ages, and when the ideas were born, the Middle Ages, when the Rome fell, life was organized about the feudal system. It was about kings, knights, dukes, and everything else. And the influence of Christian church, this came into the daily life and learning for the rest of the world. And the Renaissance, which happened in the 14th century in Italy, it meant like rebirth for incredible arts and science and philosophy. Thinkers and artists like Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo shifted focus back to human potential and curiosity. They showed that they can think advanced way since the beginning. And even the airplane we use nowadays, it was mainly an idea of Leonardo da Vinci, and we can see that from his drawings, and so that we can know that Renaissance was a great time where we had a lot of talents, and they gave us ideas that we are still using. And the exploration thing, the thirst for new trade routes and resources, Western European nations like Spain and Portugal sent ships across the globe. They were searching for routes, they were searching for things, mostly things to trade with others. And this led to the inventions of different routes that were being invented, and every other country in the world, they were using those. And countries like Britain and Portugal, they almost conquered every country. So they have left their traces everywhere, and Britain has gathered everything they can from the rest of the world, and they still show this in their museums so that the people can know about their trades and their history from there. And this led to the global exchange of goods, foods, and ideas that reshaped continents. This also led to the spread of European languages and cultures, so we know about them right now. They introduced new foods between continents, for example, potatoes to Europe and coffee to the Americas. And this marked the beginning of a truly interconnected global economy. If I want to talk about the geography of Western Europe right now, so the key features would be like the Atlantic coast and navigable rivers. The Atlantic coastline, this facilitated the age of exploration and global trade. The major rivers like Rhine, Danube, and Seine, those are vital for national transportation arteries, for commerce and early industrial growth. Another thing would be fertile plains and agricultural wealth. The northern European plain, like Germany, France, they has rich fertile soil, And this led to the agricultural development of different countries in Europe. So Europe is not all about agriculture. They have different varieties. Some are agriculture based and some are industry based. So for agriculture, we can say that these countries have started way before than many of us. And the mountain ranges and resource deposits, ranges like the Alps, Pyrenees, and Apennines, created distinct regional and cultural boundaries. These areas also hold significant amount of mineral and coal deposits, which was very crucial for the Industrial Revolution which happened in Britain. And this Industrial Revolution changed the world, and we went from farming to industrializing. The temperate climate, the region benefits from a temperate maritime climate moderated by the Gulf Stream, which is reliable climate support. This reliable climate supports year-round agriculture and dense populations. And if we give some examples right now, the geographic features and the countries, Portugal, Spain, Netherlands, UK, those are coastline countries, and they were like the countries for global trade, naval power, and the exploration days. Navigable rivers were from Germany and France. Those are for international transport, industrial centers, and communication. For coal and iron, it was UK, Germany, France. They fueled the Industrial Revolution. And for the Alps and Pyrenees, Switzerland, France, Spain, and Austria. Those are for cultural separation, natural defenses, and tourism. The impact on politics, democracy, the nation states, and human rights, we can say this all came from the Western Europe. The first known democracy was in ancient Greece, especially in the city-state of Athens around 5th century BCE. Although it was only for kings and only free men, but we can say it was democracy and it was the beginning. And the first nation state idea was appeared in Europe, France, and is often seen as the first clear example after the 100 Years' War. For human rights, in Europe, one of the first steps towards human rights was the Magna Carta in England. It limited the king's power and gave basic rights to nobles, that inspiring wider ideas for rights and freedoms across Europe. So, Magna Carta was the first thing that we can say was the start of human rights activities. So, before that, it was all about kings. What they say and what they do, these were all followed. But after Magna Carta, people, not every people, but the high class of people, those were also able to give their opinions, and after that it transformed into regular people, but they were the starters of human rights. For the economy, the Industrial Revolution starting in Great Britain was a total game changer. It introduced factories and mass production, shifting society from farming to industry. And this also is combined with the rise of capitalism, created the foundations of the global economy we live in today. Industrial Revolution, which began in the late 18th century, steam power and machinery replaced hand tools, which was very crucial for ourselves because nowadays we cannot think of ourselves working with hand. We need engine, and this was the beginning of it. And cities grew rapidly from that time because people moved for factory work from the villages. So our development and urbanization is also connected to this. And global capitalism, economic system based on private ownership, this came from that. Fueled competition and innovation and became the dominant model for international trade. Capitalism, we can also say that started after the Industrial Revolution and is also from Western Europe. The cultural effect, Western Europe's influence can be seen and heard everywhere, from the languages many of us speak to the music we enjoy and the stories we tell. its cultural impact is immense. Languages are English, Spanish, and French, which are spoken by billions worldwide nowadays. Arts, styles from Renaissance art to the music of classical composers are globally recognized. For example, Leonardo da Vinci, everyone knows about him, and Mozart, everyone recognizes that guy. And for science, the scientific method, the way of testing ideas was developed here and is the basic of modern discovery. Western Europe in the modern world. Today, Western Europe countries happen to be a major force. Many nations have joined together in the European Union to promote peace and economic cooperation. However, the region also faces modern challenges. The EU is a unique partnership of 27 countries. Contemporary issues including managing immigration, adapting to a changing global economy, and debating national identity. It remains a hub of innovation, culture, and also a diplomacy. For conclusion, from the laws that protect us to the languages we speak, Western Europe's history has left a deep and lasting impact on the entire world. Understanding its journey, the triumphs and the troubles, is essential to understanding the global community which we are all a part of today. And thank you for your time.
And we're gonna gather the questions at the end, like after all three.
Good morning, everyone. Today I will be presenting about culture and arts of Europe, Western Europe, one of the most influential regions in shaping world history. Western Europe has long been a center of intellectual and artistic development, and the region has produced thinkers, artists, and innovators whose works continue to inspire humanity by looking at a historical period such as Renaissance and the Enlightenment, and by exploring modern forms of art and literature. We can see how deeply Western European culture has shaped our world today. First, let's begin with the Renaissance and Enlightenment. The Renaissance, which began in Italy in the 14th century, marked the rebirth of art, science, and humanist thinking. Figures like Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo revolutionized art with techniques such as linear perspective, making paintings more realistic and dynamic. The Enlightenment, on the other hand, focused on reason, knowledge, and individual rights. Thinkers like Voltaire in France and Immanuel Kant in Germany challenged old traditions and pushed for freedom of thought, democracy, and scientific progress. These two periods laid the intellectual and cultural foundation of modern Europe. Some of the most important figures include Da Vinci, who was both an artist and an inventor. Michelangelo, who gave us masterpieces like the Sistine Chapel, ceiling, and philosopher such as Rosue, Montesquieu, and Kant, who shaped our understanding of liberty, governance, and morality. Philosophies of rationalism, individualism, and human rights emerged strongly in the period, becoming guiding values not only for Europe but the entire world, modern world. During these centuries, Western Europe experienced groundbreaking artistic and scientific innovations, artists developed a linear perspective, making art more lifelike and mathematically precise. In science, the method of observation and experimentation replaced superstition and tradition. Thinkers like Galileo and Newton transformed physics and astronomy. In literature and music, new forms emerged, paving the way of the cultural richness we still enjoy. These changes were not just intellectual, they had profound social impacts. Renaissance and Enlightenment ideas fueled democratic revolutions, encouraged the pursuit of knowledge, and promoted creativity in the arts. They also played a key role in shaping Western European identity, forming the basis of values like freedom, equality, and progress that remain central today. So, modern Western European arts. Moving into the modern era, Western Europe also became a leader in cinema. France gave us countries throughout and the New Wave movement. Spain introduced the colorful and emotional works of Pedro Almodovar, and Germany produced filmmakers like Werner Herzog, who challenged conventions and explored human struggles. These vectors not only reflected their national cultures but also influenced cinema around the world. Western European literature is just as influential. William Shakespeare's plays remain timeless, capturing the complexities of human nature, politics, and law. Moving forward in history, we reach figures like Jean-Paul Sartre, who existential writings questioned freedom, meaning, and responsibility in a modern world, from classical drama to philosophical literature. Western Europe's literary tradition continues to inspire readers and writers across generations. Western European cities themselves are cultural landmarks. Paris, Berlin, and Amsterdam showcase a mix of Gothic cathedrals, Renaissance palaces, and modernist design. Architecture reflects not only artistic expression but also social values, from medieval spirituality to today's focus on open, sustainable urban design. Walking through these cities is like walking through layers of history, where every building tells a story. In conclusion, Western Europe's culture and arts are more than just beautiful creations. They are the building blocks of global civilization. From the Renaissance and Enlightenment to modern cinema, literature, and architecture, Western Europe has shaped the way we think, create, and live. Its influence continues to inspire people worldwide, reminding us of the power of art and ideas in shaping human history. Thank you for your